Okay, and what are the different fine. So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to analyze four major analytics, and we have already discussed all these four. Now, the first important point what you need to remember is here the important point is each analytics plays a main role to analyze the data, which is called as to analyze the data and get an information from it. Now, if you see this, descriptive analytics will always say what is happening on your consent data. Diagnosis, why it happens. Predictive, what is likely to be happen. Prescriptive, what should I do about it? Means these are some of the major things that have been analyzed while analyzing different analytics. Okay, all these analytics have been analyzed to get some information, and that information seems to be huge indeed. That is the reason why the data we are calling as big data. Now, usually, from which particular scenario we are going to achieve all this? Now, if you see a simple example, okay, to illustrate all these four, okay, let me share the classroom board. Now, I'm going to share my classroom board. So this is so so on the screen. Are you able to see the board that I have shared, Amma? Please unmute and talk.
Yes, sir.
Okay then. Okay. Now say this. Here we have learned four major analytics, okay, which starts with descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Okay, whatever may be the analysis that we have still learned. All these analytic procedures, okay, are supposed to analyze the data in terms of big. That is the reason why big data analytics has been carried out majorly by four, whatever may be. Now, this data is given to ETL tool, which is called as extract, transfer, load. Okay, so when once this data receives that information from this kind of analytic procedures, okay, then it is going to give to a machine which is called as data warehouse machine. Okay, so this is our data warehouse machine. Now you may feel a doubt why there is a need of analyzing this machine. So from this data warehouse, here we have a final role played by the stage called business intelligence, which is called as PI. After learning all the four major phases, we came to a conclusion of business intelligence. This is the screen, this is what we have analyzed in our last class. Okay, so at the end, we came to a conclusion of using this stage, which is the most important stage called business intelligence. Okay, now in this business intelligence, what exactly the system is going to perform. So here the end user doesn't know from which kind of information you are going to receive. Are you receiving the information from this particular stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, or stage n? We doesn't know. Okay. These analytics have been analyzed in all the respective modes. Okay. We shall learn about one by one and we'll come to a conclusion of different data. And remember, all these data are about terabytes. We are going to talk about a data which is related to more than terabyte information, not below terabyte. Okay, so that kind of huge data is now extracted by this person. Okay, suppose say he wants to buy a mobile, then What this guy is going to do? This guy simply opens a Google and search the respective domain. Means based on different ratings. This is the most important word. Means he doesn't know that from which particular analytic analysis the information has been grabbed, but this machine knows all the things. Okay, from a tool called ETL, which is called as extract transform load. Now the most important point here is then why there is a need of using Hadoop. It is enough now. You may feel here to maintain this system data warehouse. The minimum amount that we need to spend is more than crores. Means huge amount should be utilized to store the information. How this information has been stored means let us take a small example that ICICI Bank has adopted some million crores of amount has been spent on this storage only. Then they came to a conclusion that why there is a need of spending huge amount to store large information. Then the idea has occurred why can't the system can store the information as well as process that information. That is the reason why Hadoop has entered into a market. Okay, so this is called as HD. Okay, so in this Hadoop system, what we are going to do is we are going to use two jobs at a stage. One to store the information in a huge amount, two to process that information. Okay, but here the major drawback in this Hadoop system is we can not manipulate the information when once it has been stored in it. Okay, that is the huge drawback using Hadoop system. Is this clear? Is this introduction part clear, Amma?
Yes,
Is it audible?
yes, sir, it is audible.
Oh, very good. Okay, so that's what the reason why the Hadoop has entered into a market. Okay, and this has been analyzed by two basic things: one to store as a storage unit, two to process it. Okay, and that too it can store huge storage. Means bigger data as we have analyzed, it starts from terabyte. Okay, petabyte, hexabyte, zettabyte, yottabyte, whatever may be the storage. So all the storage informations can at a stitch processed by it. How? That is called as MPP process, which is the most important process role, which is called as massive parallel process system. Okay, so to perform this massive parallel process system, this framework has been designed and it has huge popularity and named it as big data. Is this clear? Clear? Any more doubts? Now we shall see how data warehouse receives the information from ETL from different sources. Clear? Let me tell you a simple example. Till now, we have analyzed the data in three categories. Okay, so this is our data. Let us take, and that data has been recognized by three different types. One is called structured, which I'm going to mention as yes. Two is called unstructured, which I'm going to mention as US. And three is called semi-structured. Remember, this is the way you need to represent your data. Don't try to represent structure followed by unstructured followed by semi-structured. Okay, so this should be the first category. This should be the second category. Okay, and this should be the third category. But for the sake of your understanding, what I'm going to do is I'll try to mention like this. Is this clear, Amma? Please
Yes, sir.
unmute and talk. Okay. Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Okay then. Now the most important point what you need to remember is now the ETL will analyze the information, grabs that information from different sources. Let us take an example that the ETL has received an information from flat files. Let me tell you what is meant by flat file. Usually, the customer care data is related to a module called flat file module, where the customer care information has been grabbed in it. Okay, so that's the reason why we are going to have some huge number of options. Let us take an example that a guy has been in a touch with a customer, okay, for half an hour, which means that he's continuously scolding that person. Then, based on this performance, okay, the data performance, okay, the grabbed information gives you some kind of performance on that concerned person. So that storage is called as flat file storage. Similarly, let me tell you one more example. A person using Google with n number of accounts. Then all these n number of accounts are supposed to have their own individual usernames as well as passwords. Where these passwords have been stored, they have been stored under cloud, and the storage is will be done in a file which is called as XML, and we call them as log files. Okay, so like this, similarly, your SQL structure. Okay, we have our own structured data, and all the structured data have been recognized by MySQL commands, and we have created some n number of commands, and we have used a server called MySQL. Like this, we are going to have some huge number of servers to grab the data. Similarly, let me tell you one more example. Let us say Oracle is my server, which is going to store huge core banking people persons. Means the core banking persons will have the huge number of data. Okay, so that data has been grabbed by some kind of servers which are called as Oracle servers. Like this, we are going to have different datas, and all those datas may be a structured data, may be an unstructured data, may be a semi-structured data that we doesn't know. But the fundamental criteria is usually the end users such as we prefer a data which is called as unstructured data. That is the reason why nowadays the market which is going to handle the data is in a percentage of 80%. Means 80% of the information in the market is available only in unstructured mode. Okay, the remaining 20% will be segregated to structured mode 10% and semi-structured mode 10%. Is this clear, Amma? Any more doubts? Okay, so based on this, we are going to analyze the entire information, and that information is going to be grabbed by the respective storage process. Okay, is this clear? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay then. Now the most important thing is what is meant by structured data. Usually, the structured data that we see in our daily life is a CRM, means customer relationship management. Okay, or else you can say ERP, the information that we grab from ERP, which is called Enterprise Resource Planning. Okay, and the most important point is this structured data will support SQL. Okay, means whenever we talk about the structured query language, this is nothing but your RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. Means till now whatever the thing that you have learned under DBMS. Okay, so that data is related to structured, which means that every data has been recognized by their respective rows and by their respective columns. And we know that Rows are called as records. Records can be called as tuples. Similarly, columns are called as attributes. Attributes can also be called as fields. Okay. Now, can anyone say what will be the maximum column that can support to fulfill a data under structured information? Let us say I am a guy who wants a student information with, let us say, five different columns and 5 lakh records. It is possible. Why? Because the records can be infinite. Means you can update your system and you can simply fulfill the record strength. But here, the most important point is you can have infinite record strength. But here, what will be the maximum column that can support to your SQL structure? You have created n number of records, isn't so? In DBMS lab, you did so many number of labs modules, okay, with different table entities. And I think that you have created student entity, okay, as well as banking entities, okay. Like this, you have created some huge number of information. Now the question is, the maximum column that can support by an SQL is dash. How many columns that can support? Can I give 5 lakh columns attested to fulfill my entity? Can I create a table like that? Is my question clear to you? Please unmute and talk. Is this clear? Hello? Is this clear, Amma?
Sir, maximum number of column or maximum number of records?
Maximum number of columns. You can fulfill records as you like. You can create infinite records, no doubt in it. Now the question is, let us say I need a student with 3 columns. If I say an example like this, 3 columns means first column related to student number, second column related to student name, third column related to student mark, and there may be some infinite students. Okay, let me tell you an example, 50 students. Then what I'm going to do, I frame 3 columns with the relevant names, and then I fulfill my records. First record to Rani, second record to Vani, so on up to some n number of records. Now the question is, can I repeat the same records as infinite with columns? Is this question clear?
Yes,
In this
sir.
in this example, I have given three. Okay, what is the first one? Student number. Second one, student name. Third one, student mark. You may have student address. You may have student mobile number. You may have student landmark. You may have student location. Can I go on increasing my column,
Yes,
or
sir.
is there any restriction?
We can increase up to above 1,000, I think.
Very good. Answer to this is very simple. Please remember, you cannot exceed more than 1,000 attributes. Means this structured query language can support a database with how many fields? Means 1,000. Okay. Whatever may be the number of records that you want to enter, your wish. But you cannot exceed more than that. That's the reason why they have created a data which is called as NoSQL, and this is called as NoSQL, which means that this is the another database server which is going to support non-relational database. So this is going to talk about all the relational database information, and this is going to talk about all the non-relational database information. Is this clear, Amma? So that's the reason why the information that is grabbed in a market more is 80%, less with 10%. Okay. Now, in between these two, we may have an information which is related to the semi-structured information. And in this semi-structured information, we are going to gather an information from log files, from JSON files. Okay, these are the two major important database files which are supposed to support by the semi-structured. Okay, which means JSON files are called as JavaScript object notation files. XML files are called as extensible markup language files. So that's the reason why we are going to have very less number of datas available in our market. Okay, so that's the reason why the percentage seems to be only 10%. Okay, is this clear? So we shall see all those informations in a picture representation through a PPT. Now let me show this PPT. Is this clear, Amma? Now see this. So before going to start staring the PPT in three different modes, till now what we have learned: structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data. Is this clear, Amma?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
from where we achieve all these data means the data has been analyzed, which we have learned in our last class by four different analytic processes. Now, usually the data can be achieved either from a machine or from a human. Let us take an example. This is a slide which gives you a detailed explanation of human generated data. A human can use SQL. Let us say you did your DBMS lab. And what we have learned from that, we have learned that DBMS will always support, okay, the relational database management system in terms of a record. And the record should be, okay, rows followed by columns. This is the structured information. Let us take an example, a video pic, okay, which you can visualize, a textual data, which you can write. So these are the different generated data which are called as human generated data examples. Is this clear? Similarly, we may have machine generated systems also. So this is the machine generated data. Now see the difference in human generated data. We have seen a data related to a structured data. Either it may be a video or it may be a kind of text data or it may be a kind of relational database. Now coming to this machine generated data means the machine itself generates some data. Let me tell you one simple example. Nowadays, huge number of people are using their GPS. Okay, and this GPS will track the information in terms of a data file which is called as XML. What is meant by XML? Extensible markup language, okay, which plays a main role in storing that information under Hadoop also. We shall see that also in our next upcoming classes. Similarly, smart meters. Nowadays, all the houses are getting their respective bills simply by sensing a sensor on it. Okay, will read the meter. The meter will read the data and it generates an amount. Similarly, we are going to have some huge number of servers. What servers are going to do? Servers are going to collect the textual data. So these are all some of the basic examples of machine generated data. Now the most important point is you need to be aware about the human generated data as well as machine generated data. Okay, like this we may have some n number of examples, whatever may be. All these data are being analyzed by those analytic techniques which we have learned in our class. Now it has given to a tool called ETL, and that tool is going to generate this huge number of informations to a single system. That is nothing but your data warehouse system. And that data warehouse system will impact your business intelligence. And upon business intelligence space, we are going to grab that information. This is what the exact story behind your data, and that to the data in terms of terabyte, whatever may be. Okay, so that's the reason why the data have been analyzed. Now, if you see the example for structured data, Data stored in database tables and spreadsheets. The most important thing in this, you can easily enter the data, store, and you can have a query on your respective question. Means you can analyze the data there itself. Okay, let me tell you one simple example. I need a student name whose name is Raju, whose mobile number is so and so, whose and I need that information regarding the mark. If I give these two entities, okay, these two fields to a system, the system automatically grab that information and analyze. Okay, so that is the reason why these data are called structured data. What will be the next one? Can anyone guess? After learning structured data, what you need to learn?
Semi-structured. Semi.
Semi-structured, not unstructured. Okay, don't uh, don't learn unstructured. After structured data, you need to learn your semi-structured. What is meant by semi-structured? Semi-structured, the best example is your XML data. Just now we have seen. From where we have achieved this XML data, JSON data, these are all the data which have been grabbed from machine. Therefore, this is a part of machine as well as a part of human. That is the reason why these data are called semi-structured data. And you may ask a question, what is the full form of JSON and what is the full form of XML? Once again, I'm going to repeat. XML is called as Extensible Markup Language. JSON is called as JavaScript Object Notation. That is the most important scenario why Java plays a main role in installing your Hadoop. Coming to the last case, which is called as unstructured. In unstructured, what we are going to do is the data that is grabbed daily from the end user, such as we. We always generate a data in terms of videos, in terms of mark sheets, in terms of audios, in terms of records, so on, so on, so on. That is the reason why these are all called unstructured data. And you can visualize those unstructured data. Okay, in PDF form, Word form, blog form. Even I am going to generate huge number of data daily using my blog. Okay, so that's the reason why what is the percentage of data that is available nowadays in our market? The huge number. That is the reason why 80% of the data has been unstructured. Okay, if I take an example of Facebook, per million, per minute, we are grabbing an information around some 100 to 2000 terabytes of information. Per minute, I am going to talk. Think about per day. So that much information has been grabbing by this structured data, which we call it as unstructured data. So that's the reason why that 100% data has been classified and segregated into 10% to structured, 10% to semi-structured, and 80% to unstructured. Is this clear, Emma?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now see the last slide. Okay. So till now, what I have we thought. Okay. So these data are now supposed to be stored and processed with a less amount. That too, we are not able to spend huge bulk amount to store our information. Actually, in our previous days, what happens means all the bank employees, all the CBA people, all the this, they use their different data warehouse systems, okay, to store that information. And to store that information, the persons will grab an amount of crores to crores. Okay, up to 2007, I think 2013, at the end in the year 2013, this ICICI Bank has changed their storage information using Hadoop. Why? Because it is cheap and you can analyze that information and process it at a stitch. Okay, so that's the reason why Hadoop has entered into a market, and this is the major framework which is going to support a data. That data is to a big data. So big data is supposed to be dealt by using a framework. called as Hadoop. From where we are going to get this Hadoop? Hadoop can be achieved using Apache platform. Means if you use your Apache platform, there you can directly download this software. It is an open source software, free of cost. Okay, but the most important thing is huge number of rules and regulations are supposed to be followed while taking a clear path in Hadoop. It is not so easy, but it seems to be easy if you follow those steps in a proper systematic way. Okay, so we shall read all those things: how to install Hadoop, what are the rules and regulations that have been occurred in Hadoop. Okay, so we shall see all those things in our next upcoming class. Till now, if you feel any doubt, okay, in any respective concept, it is your time. You can post a question. Please unmute yourself and talk. Why? Because right now I'm using two systems at a stitch. One through my mobile, okay, and two through my system. I'm sharing the slide to my through my system, and I'm using my mobile for the sake of audio. As you all said, there is some disturbance in it. Okay, so that's the reason why I have changed the mode for today's class. Is this clear? Hello.
Yes,
Please
sir.
unmute yourself and talk. Okay,
Sir, I
Nama?
have a doubt regarding first class, sir. At beginning, you divided the data on the
Hmm.
basis of storage now. Can you
Yeah,
explain it once again? The
the
first
thing
class.
is, the first thing, very good. So, in our first slide, let me discuss that. That's what, okay. If you feel any doubt, please clarify those doubts right now. So, the storage is actually done in different ways. Okay. So, this is the hierarchical structure of a storage. If you see this hierarchical structure, first it starts with byte. We all know that byte is nothing but a combination of 8 bits. To this byte, they have analyzed K, a word called K, and talked this as kilobyte. Okay, now what is the main difference between these two means? In this case, we have seen only 8 bits information, whereas in the next upcoming case, we have seen 1024 bits of information. See the huge number of difference between these two. In this case, I have seen only 8 bit. While talking about bits, I am going to talk. Okay. So in KB, we may talk about some n number of examples. Okay. Let me tell you, the next hierarchy is MB. So what is meant by MB? Only thing is multiply this 1024 twice. You get MB. Okay. So if you multiply these two, okay, KB into KB gives you MB. Similarly, if you multiply MB into MB, we'll get kilo, mega, giga. So the difference is very simple. Let me tell you one example related to this. Let us say this is going to follow 1 followed by 3 zeros. I'm going to approximate this to 1000, but the exact value inside is 1024. I'm going to double this, 10 to the power of 6, which means I'm using my respective, okay, mega as well as kilo. If I multiply these two, then only I can get this 10 to the power of 9. See the simple example. So what is meant by 1 GB? 1 GB can be represented in different ways. But the easier way you need to remember, 1 GB can be achieved as 1 MB multiplied by 1 KB. Just now we have talked. What is meant by 1 KB? 1 KB is nothing but 10 to the power of 3. 1 MB is nothing but how much?
10 to the power 6.
Very good. Now the bases are equal. Then you can add the powers, isn't true? So 10 is a base which is equal. Therefore, you can add these two. So 6 plus 3 is nothing but 9. So automatically you can say 1 GB is nothing but 10 to the power of 9. Similarly, if I talk about TV, can you guess the answer now? Just add the above two storages. That's all. You'll get the last storage. So
10 power.
1 TB can be represented as 1 GB multiplied by 1 MB. Okay. So just now you talk 1 MB. So 10 power 9. What will be the next answer? 10 to the power of, what is the next one? Okay. 6, 9, 12, I think. Is this clear? So you need to multiply, increasing this with a value 10 to the power of 3. So the most important point which you need to remember is writing the pattern is not at all a matter. The only thing is you need to observe how many zeros have been placed in each and every respective storage. So after kilo, mega, giga, tera, we have seen peta, we have seen hexa, we have seen zeta, okay, which is the most important byte, okay, and we have seen iota. Now the present byte is running with iota, even not zeta also. Means usage has been done by through internet nowadays. Okay, up to 2014 we have seen this. That is the reason why the market has been abnormally boomed with this data called big data. But now the present lead is going to be learned by this. See the comparison. Okay. So if you go on increasing this, so that's the reason why, as I said, you need to learn at least 2 to the power of 24 at a stage. Okay. So after 12, we are going to have 15. Only thing is simply add 3 to each and every respective mode. After 15, you are going to have 18. What about the next one? 10 to the power of 21. After that, 10 to the power of 24. That is the reason why you need to be aware to with 2 to the power of 24. Start reading, analyzing with 2 to the power of 0 to 2 to the power of 24. Okay. If anyone asks you what is the value of 2 power 10, immediately you need to say 2 power 10 is nothing but 1024. If anyone asks to what is the value of 2 power 20, the answer is 1048576. You can cross check it. If it is 2 to the power of 24, the answer is 16,777,216. So you need to aware with these powers at least, okay, which we are supposed to learn all these things in the first year itself. And I hope that you have all learned all these things. Okay, so that's about the storage, and that is the reason why zettabyte information, okay, and terabyte process are the most important parameters. Even Robo, okay, has its own 1 petabyte, I think 1 zettabyte speed. Okay, so this slide also I have shared you in my blog. You can go through. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in the next upcoming class, what we are going to do is I'll try to use two basic platforms. It is in your hands. I have received a message that most of them have been using their below 10 OS. Then what to do and how to do your labs. Then I altered another example of sharing a virtual machine on the system. Right now I'll show you the system also. Okay, using this, those guys who are having their systems with below Windows 10, then what they need to do is they need to download two basic softwares. One, a virtual machine software. I'll share the link. Okay. Two, an ISO file of Ubuntu. You can download any ISO file as you wish. Both are open sources and they are free of cost. Okay. If once you click on this virtual machine, okay. So in our lab, I have established this. When once you enter into a lab through offline, I'll show you how the system is going to cluster the information in different places. Okay. So in our lab, you can sit in one lab and you can process in another lab. So practically I did this. and I want to share this knowledge to you. Okay, why? Because Hadoop has its own example. What is the main purpose of using this Hadoop means you can store the information at a stage, you can process that information. But the important note point is here we are going to share below KBs. Don't think about zettabyte or terabyte. Okay, you can take an example like this and you can analyze this data to user storage. Okay, I'll show you that. Anyhow, we are having some lab programs, we have commands. Okay, so in the meanwhile, when once Ubuntu starts, I think you are going to start your Ubuntu under operating system lab also. Same commands with a little bit modification, we can run this big data. Okay. Anyhow, I'll show you that. So I'll share these two along with a PPT. Those who are having their Windows 10 below OS. If you have Windows 10, it is perfect. Okay. Or else you can use this platform which is called as VMware Workstation. It is better also so that we can analyze both the things. Are you able to see the screen which I have shared right now? Please unmute yourself and talk.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear, Amma? I think it is loading. Okay. See, these are all some of the lab projects which we did live. Okay. Anyhow, when once you enter into a lab, I'll show you all these things. Still, it is loading the information. But for virtual machine, you need to stand there. Okay. Stay there for minimum some few milliseconds time. It takes some time to settle that all information. Why? Because background we have opened some n number of applications now. That's the reason. See this? Are you able to see? And we have created a folder also. Okay. So when once you click on this, now you can see your kernel. Okay. But the most important drawback is it takes some time to settle with your respective commands. Don't try to be hurried, buddy. Okay. Now you can visualize this. Are you able to see, Emma? Now, if I open my terminal, you can see this terminal. Are you able to see the screen? What I have shared?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is how. Okay. These are some of the basic things, and you can know what kind of Ubuntu OS you have loaded. You can directly know with some number of commands. I'll share those knowledges in the next upcoming classes. Okay. Any more doubts? Okay. Huh. Huh. Is this clear? So I request the students, okay, please post your attendance with the register number. Okay. Okay now. So I'm going to stop for today's session. Is this, any other doubts? So please note down the attendance. Okay, as I said to the guys, please post those attendance in my WhatsApp group. Okay, I'll
Sir,
cross
for
check.
statistics, whom you said, sir?
ఏదమ్మా
స్టాట్ లో ఎవరికి చెప్పారు సార్ తీసుకోమని?
hello, hello, your voice is unedible. Hello, your voice was not clear.